What was your biggest crap? My parents were right moment. My mum told me that I get to choose the person I become. All you have to do is to keep that thought in your head when making decisions. Also, every action has a reaction, so make sure that reaction will be a good one. It wasn't something I really listened to at the time. Now those thoughts stay with me all the time, and I have definitely become a better person for it. The author of the Vorkosigan saga, Lois McMaster Bujold, had a great line that went, "When you choose an action, you are choosing the consequences to that action. When you desire a consequence, you had damned well better take the action that would create it." My parents had me cook dinner for the family once a week starting at 13, then more often as I got older. I know I whined then, but now I am so grateful. Cooking is a great skill to have, and I can make a bunch of stuff with no recipe. It is so useful, healthful and frugal. This is kinda my thing. I remember bitching and moaning when my mom brought home fresh cooked grilled foods and vegetables because it wasn't burgers from McDonald's. I'm in my mid-30s now and I can't imagine eating anything but freshly prepared food. I liked a girl that was way out of my league in college. Told my mom about the bad crush and how I thought I would just move on. She said, "You can fail at something you don't want, so you might as well fail at something that matters." We've been married for 3 years this November. The crush, not my mother and I. During my weekly call from my dad on Wednesdays, exactly at 7 p.m. for 20 plus years, you know, someday you are going to miss our conversations. Goddamn it, Dad. TT. At age 18 you'll know everything. By age 25 you'll realize the world isn't as simple as you think. By 30 you'll be frightened that people trust your opinion when you know you don't know very much about a subject. A phrase my mom always said to cheer me up while stressed in university: "If it was easy everybody would do it." Sounded so stupid at the time, but I've used the same line to cheer up countless friends who were stressed with exams, etc. Mom is always right. Said to me as a young teenager, "I know it's hard to imagine now, but the age of 40 really isn't that far away. Before you know it you'll hit 40 and wonder how that happened so fast." My parents were always frugal and my cousins always got showered with video game consoles and gifts. I always thought it was unfair and often complained to my parents. Patiently they would say, "That's not how we're doing it. We're going to save our money." Fast forward 15 years and my cousins are in massive debt and my brother and I aren't, having learned how to save money. But at the time though it was totally unfair. There's balance. When I first moved in with my husband, I'd get freaked out if he bought the name brand ketchup instead of the store brand, because my parents always made us feel like we were teetering on the edge of total financial disaster when that was never actually true. I am glad that I've been able to loosen up in my adult life. I read a bunch of self-help books that told me not to stress out over little things, to let stuff go, and to forgive people and situations. I realized my mother has been saying this stuff my whole life, and that I was just a stubborn little crap and never listened. She's a cleaning lady and custodian. Hearing her tell me to be at peace with life means infinitely more to me than it ever did reading it out of any book. Honestly, that's all self-help books are. They're just reiterating advice you've already been hearing most of your life by important adults who have been through it, maybe just written more eloquently to catch your attention. You're lucky your parents still kiss. They would always tell me that after I got grossed out when they kissed as a little kid. I didn't really realize the huge truth behind that until I started going to friends' houses more and seeing their parents almost always argue and stay in separate rooms or something like that. Be thankful your parents smooch, goddammit. I'm 19 years old and I can honestly say I've never seen my parents kiss before. You shouldn't eat an entire cake. It isn't good for you. First thing I did when I moved out from my parents' house was buy a cake and eat it. All of it. Because I was an adult and I could do what I want. It hurt. That means you're not doing it enough. You gotta eat more to build up a tolerance. Like drinking. I was driving a little too fast. My mom told me to slow down. I said nah, it's fine, I never get pulled over. 25 seconds later I see police lights behind me. Things don't matter. People matter. Once you've buried a loved one, the importance of getting the newest cell phone just doesn't matter at all. Once you've buried a loved one, it's important to remember that things will matter again. If they don't, seek help. My mom would make us clean the house before we left on any sort of vacation. I would always be and moan because who cares if it's clean? We aren't even going to be here. Fast forward to adulthood and goddamn if it doesn't feel good to return to a clean house. Not all your friends need to be forever friends. Some people are just meant to be your friend for that particular time in your life. I really wish someone had told me that when I was in college. I held on to my past and never made new friends. You'll need a plunger in your new house. At first I wondered why I would even need one since we never used it at all in my old house. Immediately regret not getting one when crap got real. A plunger is one of the things you absolutely must buy before you need it. Dad, go to college and get a degree. You don't want to work like this your whole life. Went to college, fricked around, didn't get degree. Currently working the way he said I didn't want to work my whole life. He was right. This sucks. Dad left me with something cool before he died. Wanting to frick somebody over and over for the rest of your life isn't love. Wanting to be with somebody for the rest of your life no matter how many times life fricks you both over and over though, could be. Your dad seemed like he had things figured out. I have a little more casual advice from my dad. Don't keep your hands in your pockets because if you lose balance and fall over you won't be able to put out hands quickly enough and will hit your nose. I disregarded this advice. Guess what happened 5 minutes later? I can't believe that your dad tripped you. I was 21 years old, living in a share house, GF and 2 other roommates, struggling to pay even the most necessary of my bills to the point where I had to make decisions between gas or food. I was sitting there and wallowing in self-pity when I realized that when she was my age my mother had already left my father, was living on her own in a townhouse about the same size as the one I had to share with 3 other adults just to be able to afford it, and even then was still able to give us everything we needed to survive. Realizing that my mom was way better at adulting than I was hit me like a slap in the face, and it really put a lot of my childish bad decisions into sharp focus. I called her to tell her that I was sorry for all the crap I had ever given her for not getting what all the other kids had, and to thank her for giving me as good a life as she did. Later that year when my life finally fell all the way apart, she took me back and helped me get my life back on track in very short order. That was almost 20 years ago now, and today I'm doing pretty well as a husband, father, and professional. I am so excited for my socks that should be arriving today. My mother always told me I'd be grateful for gifts of clothes. I never believed her. My mom last year, she came up to my house in Vegas. It was a Christmas party and I didn't expect her to get me any presents. When the party ends and it winding down she runs to her car because she forgot to give me my present. It turns out she got me some fluffy pair of blue socks and a Steam card. Oh, mothers never fail to amaze me. My dad was sick and dying while I was in high school. During that time he sat down and read everything he could about student loans for college. He made me promise him I would always buy this optional loan insurance. It added a couple hundred to every dang loan. I had people try to talk me out of it, and I always had to say I had promised my dad, who was now dead. Just as I finished my studies I got sick. It took a while to figure out it was incurable and I was going to be chronically ill the rest of my life. The insurance paid off my student loans and took one big stressor out of my life. So even though my daddy was dead, he was taking care of me. Even my mother told me I didn't need that insurance. He was right, I needed it. You'll hate everybody you work with if you're trying to get into film. I know you like movies and like making them, but most of the people you'll have to deal with will be insufferable. You just don't understand me. One day into my intro to film studies course and I couldn't take it anymore. I never looked back. As a former film editor, I can attest to this. The film world is full of pretentious self-made buttholes who always know better than you do about everything. You can't fly with the eagles if you sleep with the pigeons. Turns out the wrong friends really can hold you back and drag you down. Something I learned the hard way. Don't hang out with people that don't care if they get in trouble. They definitely don't care if you get in trouble. I was dating this girl in high school who my parents really didn't like. They were nice to her, but I heard from my mom frequently that she was no good. After a year she, girl, not mom, cheated on me. Thought that was going to end worse. My mum always said everything will be alright in the end. If it's not alright, it's not the end. That's kinda stuck with me throughout many breakups, many jobs going south. It keeps me optimistic and makes me work towards being better. Eventually either things will get better or you'll die. Either way, this problem will pass. My mom was a bit of a nihilist, I guess. My mother always told me you will leave this world the same way you entered it, with nothing. So put pride in your work, treat all with respect, and give your family undying love. When it's all gone, you will know you have done the right thing, and death won't seem so sorrowful. When consoling a friend of mine whom had a terrible relationship with his father after he passed away, my mother's words hit hard immediately. My dad is a doctor. My whole life growing up I ate crap like cereals, Cheerios, cookies. He didn't smoke or drink and only ate healthy stuff. He grew up poor and the son of a farm worker, so he never got to eat junk food, and later on in life he found it disgusting. So I thought it was just a matter of taste. He would harangue us about how bad this stuff is for you, this and that, and we mostly ignored it. In med school, the first few autopsies we attended showed us just how fricked your body's insides become on an unhealthy diet. Atherosclerosis makes your arteries hard as bone. The pathologist used them to tap a rhythm on the table. Smoker's lungs so black it was hard to tell what was what. Then the pneumology rotations begin and we could see it in the living. Obese individuals with COPD, barely able to breathe or talk, diabetic, immobile and with heart failure. Day after day after day, meeting individuals in their 50s whose bodies were wrecked and who always answered filled their history forms with smoker 10, 15, 20, 30 etc. Years, cholesterol through the moon, fat as frick, no exercise, drinkers. The ravages of alcohol make themselves shown quite often too. It's horrific. Your body is tough as frick, but people underestimate just how bad these things are for them. I don't drink, smoke and I don't eat junk food and I avoid red meat like the devil itself these days. Never felt better. I still remember the pathologist tapping on coronary arteries so occluded and hard they resemble chicken bones. Frick that crap. This spoke to me. Thanks. I don't smoke and I don't drink very much, but my diet sucks because I'm the world's laziest person when it comes to food. I'm about 40 pounds overweight at 27 and my fitness and strength levels are absolute zero. I've been good so far today in terms of calories. Time to keep being good. Not so much. My parents were right as holy crap that was his plan. I have a 5-year-old and live in Texas. Mowing the lawn is a bee in the summer heat. I'm mowing the lawn one summer and my 5-year-old is peeking through the window from inside the air-conditioned house drinking a juice box. I think to myself, dang, I can't wait for the boy to be old enough to do this bulls. I should get him one of those bubble blowing lawn mowers to get him used to the idea. Then it hit me. My parents had a picture of me following my dad mowing the lawn with my little toy mower, which in retrospect is super dangerous. I'm lucky I didn't get hit with a rock or something. The old man wasn't trying to spend time with me, he was training his replacement. My dad taught me and made me mow the backyard on the old push mower that he used as a kid. Absolutely hated it. Oh, well, hey, your gramps got an old gas powered one. Little rusty, but it still works great. You might like it better. Boy, was I suckered in. He knew exactly what he was doing. My dad always told me not to be in a rush to grow up. I wanted to be 16 so I could drive, 18 so I could go on those websites, 21 so I could go to the bars. Now I'm 30 and I wish I was 12. Talk radio, podcasts, actually, is more interesting than most contemporary music. If I ever had to go into their bedroom late at night, he would be listening to a little transistor radio to faraway stations. I thought my father was the most boring man alive. Now I'm the most boring woman. I was once invited to a meeting by some friends. I was told to wear nice clothes but they wouldn't tell me anything else about it. My father thought it might be a pyramid scheme and made me promise to come home and sleep on it before I made any commitments. I went to the meeting but I didn't join. I found out later that it was a pyramid scheme. As I write this, I'm 39 sitting in an intensive care ward after surviving a heart attack. My blood sugar was over 200 and my blood pressure was so high they had to measure it manually because the machine could not measure it. I was warned. Side note, my wife is 20 weeks pregnant. I really don't want to make her a single mom. That girl is no good for you in relation to my ex-girlfriend. She was spiteful, sly and cold, but easily one of the most beautiful girls I'd ever seen. My parents obviously picked up something I didn't. I got into a huge fight with my mom when she kept saying there was something about the girl that was untrustworthy, but I defended her, my ex, to my mom until the cows came home because I was so blindly in lust with her. Then, on the night we broke up and after the 2 years we were together, she finally revealed what a truly nasty person she was, and I realized that my mom and dad were so accurate about her. I met up with her 2 months ago and she confirmed all over again that I should really trust my parents' intuition. When you turn 25 you'll start getting a gut. You won't always be able to eat like that. Dad, heat never goes past 68. If you're cold, put on a sweatshirt. Own house with roommates. Set heat at 75. Enjoy a tropical month. Get first heating bill. Promptly lock thermostat to 68. Roommate whined. Told her to put on a sweatshirt. Don't join the army. 10 years later, I have crippling post-traumatic stress disorder from Iraq. I attempted suicide about 5 years ago. My mom found me in the basement, started CPR on me while waiting for the paramedics. I can't even express how sorry I am to my parents. My life at 28 is tremendously harder than it should be because of this. My parents didn't imbue any advice that I particularly remember. My grandfather on the other hand is a sage. It's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. That's the trick to becoming wealthy, man, was he right? So many people get raises over the years and inflate their lifestyle. I've doubled my income while keeping my lifestyle comfortable but stagnant and put the extra income into savings and investments and it feels great. Want to know true freedom? Be debt free. Got told when I was 10 that life is not fair. 20 odd years later, it's been the truest thing ever said. You win some and you lose some. We don't go out and eat every night because it's expensive. Cook something at home is cheaper and lasts longer. So much money saved. In middle school, after my mom told me she wouldn't buy me super ripped designer jeans because they would just fall apart, so I paid for a $50 pair of jeans with money I had got for my birthday. First day I wore them I decided to show someone how far I could do the front splits, and ripped them from the knee to the crotch in the process. First and last time I wore them. I don't think that's a problem with the jeans as much as it is that you decided to try to do the splits in jeans. You'll regret not taking care of yourself later. I've dealt with anorexia for most of my life. I thought this was crazy, because I never thought there would be a time in my life when I wasn't devoted to starving myself. Now, I'm trying to get healthy, and my stomach no longer remembers how to digest food. Whenever I try to eat, my stomach enters a state of near paralysis, and the food rots there until I vomit 5 times. I have my first of many procedures coming up to try and fix it, and it's an expensive and hellish process. I wish I'd just been a normal chunky teenager snacking with the rest of my friends, instead of destroying my body forever. Don't pay by card for everything. It won't feel like you're spending money and you'll go over budget without realizing. Took me 2 years and £1,000 of student loan splurges of uni to realize my mum was right. The best I've ever budgeted was when I took out my monthly budget and split it into 4 envelopes, opening one for each week. Nowadays I'm a massive stinge about money because I get paid in cash, so I find it super easy not to spend anything when I can literally see my cash leaving my hands. My parents were never right about anything. Narcissistic, criminally neglectful, and socially numb. I took 95% of their parenting and flipped it 180 to raise my own kids. My sister and I are really proud of breaking that crap in 1 generation. Our kids are awesome, and we tell them. When I was 21-23 or so, I would go out with friends every night. Not always drinking, but we always went out to do something. Dinner, movie, whatever. My dad never went out, just sat at home with the dog and watched TV. I felt so bad for him and told myself I never wanted to be like that. 34 now, and the best nights I have are spent home on the couch with my cats and GF watching a movie. I hate going out. My dad was a smart man. I used to ask my parents when it was Mother's or Father's Day. When is Kids Day? They would say every day is Kids Day. As someone who works full time, I totally get that. Also, they said school was the most fun thing ever. They were right. Totally takes a turn on being an adult. Also, they told me, regarding career decisions, etc., make them young and just get going on something. Before you know it, you'll be 30. I'm 29 and wish I started stuff way earlier. They literally made the soul read on everything. Soul read is a poker term used when you are incredibly accurate in your prediction of your opponent's hand. Shoutouts to my parents for always being right. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.